Good morning, everybody. Welcome to UU Church of Riverside. So, our opening hymn this morning will be Love Will Guide Us, number 131 from Singing the Living Tradition. And as you know, people in the service here are asked to just listen and enjoy the music, but people at home are welcome to sing as a whole to their heart's desire. So enjoy.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from dream to living. Love will guide us through the night. If you cannot if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the night.
So good morning again, and welcome to the live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Riverside. We're very fortunate to be able to meet in person here, but we're glad that you're joining us by Zoom also. And we will continue to live streaming and posting these services on the YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. So you can watch, if you want to refer your friends to see the service, it will be available on our YouTube channel. I'm Steve Fuji, member of the Worship Committee and the Board of Trustees, and I will be your worship associate today. Other members of the Worship Committee you'll hear from will include Alec Peck, who has you'll hear singing the hymns and also presenting the service today. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once too, seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us to what we create as we create meaning together. We come to this time and this place to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of fellowship, and to bring our gifts of love and service to the community and to each other. We also ask that you, those who are here, mute your electronic devices, phones, and so forth. Although our doors are open, the pandemic is not over, so while we're here, please keep your masks on and socially distance. We can speak in normal tones, but singing or chanting requires an increased risk of airborne exposure, so we ask you to refrain from that for the time being. And we invite those of you in the sanctuary to sit back and enjoy listening to our songs. For those of you at home, sing your hearts out. So now I invite you to sit back and take a slow, deep breath as we move into our worship hour. For a call to worship, you are welcome to read with me the covenant of our church. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Today, UCR member Alec Peck will be reading a sermon written by Reverend Cecilia Kingman. Reverend Cecilia Kingman is the Minister for Faith and Justice at the Edmonds Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Edmonds, Washington. She lives in Seattle with her partner Alan and their two youngest children, a pair of twins. They have 3 young adult children spread around the globe. Cecilia has studied totalitarian systems and spent 2 decades working with the Unitarian community in Eastern Europe. Sermon is the land of enough. How can we possibly practice generosity and a belief in abundance amidst a barrage of scarcity? While our culture is fascinated with money, We all know the degree to which money is the real religion in America. In a culture that shapes us to be consumers before anything else, how do we make financial choices that are in line with our own values? How can we show that our security lies in community? We have two lightings of sacred flames. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign peoples, the original peoples of this land who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was the first sacred space of several groups of Indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light the sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy space. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's reading of the Chalice lighting is The Abundance of Our Lives Together by Katie Galfond. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. Here, may we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us. We have a tradition at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak in front of others, and so I will now ask for a volunteer from someone who's been here a while to tell us your name and how you found out about our church. We ask you to step close to the mic and speak into it directly and clearly so everyone can hear. Do we take a mic around to them for this? Oh, they come up here. Okay. So it's not really volunteer because I get to call on someone. I'm going to call on Tinka Friend. Oh, you're not? All right. Does somebody want to volunteer? We used to call on people.
So good morning, everybody. I'm Tinka Friend, and I came to this church 1996, I think it was, at the beginning of the year. And there was no minister at the time, but a minister had been called, Reverend Cynthia Kane, a woman. And I actually didn't come here seeking a spiritual community or a church. I came here to support hospice. There was a hospice fundraiser that had rented the church. And it was sort of a Garrison Keillor type, play a guitar and sing songs and tell jokes and things. And during the break, I went out into our parish hall, looked at the pamphlets. I saw a pamphlet that said, "You feminist." And that's the reason why I had stopped going to church before, was because I didn't feel that I, as a woman, was completely embraced and by the faith that I had grown up with. And so I was like, oh my God, if there's a church that allows you to believe in feminism and still welcomes you, I've got to come and find out what that is. And so my husband and I started attending, and then we eventually joined and got really involved, became leaders in this church. So that's how I found it.
Thanks, Tinka. And we're all very fortunate that you found the church here. I was supposed to say, please step forward to the mic and tell us your name, how long you've been here, and how you found out about the church, but Tinka knew the drill. But that's how it's done. And if you're new here, a visitor or an old friend, please raise your hand to stand and come up to the mic in front of the pulpit. So I think we do have some new members. Would any of you like to come up here and introduce yourselves? Okay, I'm standing here staring at the new members, but we're not going to force them to come up. But if there's someone online who would like to introduce themselves, please raise your hand using the Zoom function, and we will call on you. And so we'll give a moment to see if anyone out there in Zoom land wants to introduce themselves. No? Okay. Well, for any other new guests, please join us for socializing and coffee hour after this service. We'd love to chat with you out in the parish hall, where you can also find our visitors book. Please leave your name before you leave so that we know you are here, and leave your contact information if you want to know about upcoming events. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. And don't feel like you need to write that down. It's going to be up on the screen at the end of the service. Also, we are having the first Sunday lunch today in addition to the social hour, and I think there's an announcement about that here. But now there are a few announcements we would like to share. Okay, during the service, we mentioned several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we'll leave up a slide with all this information and is available on our website. The monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every month by email and per request by postal mail. If you have something newsworthy or that you would like to contribute, email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com or call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. And again, don't rush to write this stuff down. It'll be there at the end of the service. The first Sunday luncheon will be held in the parish hall after today's service. Join us this month for our one-pot meal and some casual socializing. Donations are welcome as you're willing and able. The Concerned Youths of Riverside, the community outreach arm of the Social and Environmental Justice Committee, will be meeting. Is it meeting today, Adam? Okay, meeting today on the second floor of the annex at 12 noon. You can find more information on the website under Social and Environmental Justice. Our annual pledge drive for the 2022-2023 fiscal year has been rescheduled to begin on Saturday, March 26th, with a wine and cheese event from 4 to 6 p.m. All members and friends are invited. On March 19th, our dinner series will continue with a St. Patrick's Day themed meal. Tickets are on sale now and are available by pre-sale only. Camp Connect workshop, UU principals, how do they go beyond an ideal? Camp de Benneville Pines invites you to a virtual experience called Camp Connect workshop. UU principals, how do they go beyond an ideal? This is a series of workshops that will be held at 5 p.m. on 4 consecutive Sundays in March 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th. We'll focus on 2 UU principals each week. Workshops will be presented on Zoom and facilitated by our camp dean and professional facilitator, Amy Brunell. Today, UUCR will be streaming the first installment of this series at the church at 5 p.m. if you wish to share the experience with fellow congregational attendees. Not as good as going to Camp de Benneville Pines, but it's good that that's available. We have some announcements now by our board president, Pat Coander.
For the record, I did print these out, but I can't find them, so I'm reading off my iPad. Okay, the UUWF monthly meeting will be held this Saturday in the parish hall at 1 p.m. All women in the church are invited. If you haven't participated in Women's Fed, it wouldn't be held against you at all. We really want everybody to come. We have been so isolated that it's really important that you come. The last meeting we had, I don't remember even when it was because it's been a while, but we had a wonderful time. And all we did was catch up, just talk to people. So please come. We'd love to see you. The refreshments are going to be terrific, I promise. The only hitch is that the Lollapalooza big truck event is in Riverside on Saturday afternoon. So come early because parking will be an issue. Okay? And second announcement. As board president, I've had the idea of holding an alumni dinner for former members, ministers, and staff. If you would like to participate or discuss this idea, please talk to me after the service. I just this morning messengered Cynthia Kane and asked her if she would come, and she said, of course.
Thank you, Pat. Now, joys and concerns. It is said that shared joy is double joy, shared sorrow is half sorrow, and that's so true. On the first Sunday of the month, we share the joys and concerns we have received from you and which you have collected throughout the month. First, I'm going to read the joys and concerns that were given to us. From Robert Braun, our administrator, a joy. Robert's partner, Stephen, finally has a release date of January 28th, 2023, and is on a waiting list for a re-entry program, which would enable him to earn extra good time credit and come home even sooner. His concern is that he's worried that they will overturn the date once again and make him serve another year like they have already done once before. There's a concern for all people affected by invasion of Ukraine. Is there someplace where joys and concerns are written up here? This book here, okay. Okay. If there's anyone here in the sanctuary who would like to speak their joy or concern, please raise your hand and come to the mic up front. Oh, Alec.
Since I'm already here and I can help with the mic, I have a glass half full, glass half empty kind of situation in that my quarter at UCR is wrapping up. And so I have the last of my homework that is taking up a lot of my time and putting a lot of stress on me. But this is a joy because I'm hoping that this is the last homework I ever have to do. And it will feel really nice to not have to have that part of my life anymore.
Okay.
Or now you can add all those extra Greek letters that are stacked up in the back room, just sort of glue them randomly into the equation.
So does anyone else here have any joys or concerns? I think Pat Coander does.
Oh, here's where you, okay. I just want to point out for people who want to help others, there are a couple people in the congregation right now that are struggling. Glenn Granfield is having some memory issues, so we should be especially friendly and helpful to him. And Kay Mowry fell. And she broke her arm, and it's healing better than expected, but she still is, she really appreciates cards. All the while in Caring Network over the last 20 years, Kay was the person who sent everybody notes. So she really likes getting notes. So if you have the time, thank you.
For those of you who don't know Kay, she's just the most wonderful person you could ever hope to meet. And so hope that we'll be able to do a lot of cards. Okay, Bill? You know how to use the microphone.
Too well. Or too voluminously, shall we say. Just sort of a concern that I got that I figure other people have too. It's for all of you, and it's basically about fatigue. It's between COVID and dealing with the flux of politics. It hurts, it's numbing, and the sheer volume of what's going on, you're going, I should really care about this thing over here, but I can't. I got nothing left in the tank. There are, I guess, methods for healing each other. There's a lot of better people than I am to go after it. But when that numbness hits, don't be afraid to look around, talk to a friend, complain out loud to a friend. Do something to sit there that says, maybe the numbness is inevitable, but the working back from that numbness so that we can still act as full humans is something we ought to lay some serious time into as well, which is a pain because that's more time out of the calendar. But in this time of pain and stress and the, oh crap, how do I got time for this? I didn't have time for the other stuff. Look to each other, look to the sources that have uplifted you in the past. Don't forget that they're there.
Thank you. Anyone else have any joys or concerns here? Tinka?
Yes, I thank you, Pat, for letting us know, about the other people. I know, I think it was in I think it was in the newsletter that I read anyway, about Janice, and that we should all keep her in our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers. And she has been such a solid bedrock for this church for, half a century, and her family. And that Larry, I guess, had written a letter and said that if you, she's slowing down now, 101 years old, 102. And, so if you want to see her, make sure you make time make sure you make time now to go and see her. It was in the letter, which I think was printed in the newsletter. I don't happen to know it. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. And then you had mentioned in terms of the Ukraine situation and what's happening there. And that has hit me on a really, I don't have anybody or any family members that live in Ukraine or anything, but I grew up my father was in the military, and I grew up all around the world. And when I was from the ages of 8 to 13, I lived in Germany, and that was 1960 to 1964. And I was there when they built the Berlin Wall. And so much of what I'm seeing that's happening with Ukraine reminds me so viscerally, so emotionally about what I saw as a child while I was there. So my heart just pleads for what's happening to the Ukraine people.
Thank you, Tinka. And I want to say that Janice has been such an inspiration for me as I've gotten into my advanced years, because when she was in her 90s and up to her 100th birthday, she was just so active and vital and energetic. And I'm 66 and feeling like I don't have much time left, but I think I do, because I have another, 30 years left before I'll be in my 90s. So, Adam, is there anyone online that would like to share their joys and concerns? Okay. Bill, do you do the stone and the stone? Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah, tell us who's online. Oh, all right. So anyway, we place a stone in our water chalice to represent the joys and concerns we have shared with our church community, and in recognition of those we hold close and have not shared.
Smooth for when life is going well, with your recharge, and the act of being with each other, and the act of being with our friends and our loved ones.
I hope the microphone picked that up. But may we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts.
For the rest of us, which we all have.
Yes.
Parts that we're not talking about, or there's so many mix that we don't know whether they're joy or
Thank you, Bill. Our next hymn is We'll Build a Land, number 121 from Singing the Living Tradition. And again, if you're in the sanctuary, I invite you to sit back, close your eyes, and listen.
We
During that song, I was watching Tinka here sing along in sign language, and the movements were so beautiful and fitting to the song. We really should do a video of that. So it's time for sharing our treasure. This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is on the church website and also in the newsletter. Stater Brothers Markets gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we will have in our church each Sunday. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity, and to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? Yes, so some of you will recognize that as a chorale from Finlandia by Sibelius. And now we will have the hymn From You I Receive. Please sit back quietly and enjoy.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Our meditation today is The Chalice of Our Being by Richard S. Gilbert, based on this quote: "Each morning we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and give back," by Dag Hammarskjöld. Each morning we hold out our chalice of being to be filled with the graces of life that abound: air to breathe, food to eat, companions to love, beauty to behold, art to cherish, causes to serve. They come in ritual procession, those gifts of life. Whether we deserve them, we cannot know or say, for they are poured out for us. Our task to hold steady the chalice of our being. We carry the chalice with us as we go, either meandering aimlessly or with destination in our eye. We share its abundance if we have any sense. Reminding others as we remind ourselves of the contents of the chalice we don't deserve. Water from living streams fill it, if only we hold it faithfully. We give back, if we can, something of ourselves, some love, some beauty, some grace, some gift. We give back in gratitude, if we can, something like what is poured into our chalice of being. For those who abide with us and will follow, each morning we hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, to give back. Now, let us pause for a moment of silence. And now I'd like to introduce Alex Peck reading the sermon Land of Enough by Reverend Cecilia Kingman.
Thank you, Steve. This is in the first person written by Cecilia. The Land of Enough. I get these catalogs and magazines in the mail. I'm sure you do too. They're filled with pictures of things I must buy and bodies I will never have, trips I ought to go on and cars that I should drive. We live in the land of not enough. These are the coins of the realm. These magazines and catalogs carry in them the constant message of our lack, of what we do not have and cannot be. We live in a society that tells us that of our own unworthiness every day. How can we possibly practice generosity and recognize abundance amidst a barrage of scarcity? This is hard, hard work, and one sermon will not get us out of the land of not enough. And so I bring you greetings as fellow travelers and word of the place which we are going. And I can bring you a sign that we are growing closer and that our band of travelers grows every day. Our culture is fascinated with money. We all know to the degree to which money is the real religion of America. Yet someone recently asked of me, isn't the first rule of stewardship never talk about money? I was not surprised to hear someone say this, as it's been the practice in churches for a long time. Don't talk with people about money. You'll only make them uncomfortable. And yet I disagree. I think we are longing to talk about money, even in our discomfort. In church, we grapple with life's most profound matters: justice, death, the nature of humanity, and even the existence or non-existence of gods. Yet the subject of money rarely comes up. In many churches, it is easier to talk about sex than finances. Yes, we speak of poverty, of global economics, and perhaps share our concerns about paying for retirement. But when do we speak of our deepest worries and fears about the making and the spending of money? Each of us has questions. In a culture that shapes us to be consumers before anything else, how do we make financial choices that are in line with our own values? How do we teach our children life's meaning in a society that emphasizes appearance and accumulation? What is our responsibility to the poor? What if I become poor? These are profoundly religious questions of ethics, human worth, and security. And church is the best place for these discussions, gathered with others who share our values. Our congregations can provide a place to examine our material culture, to speak truthfully about our questions and struggles, to perhaps even be vulnerable in these questions, and to comfort and encourage one another along the way. This is the first step of religious stewardship. The next step is one that I think all great religions have taught throughout the ages. What if I told you that I know a fantastic spiritual practice, a teaching passed down through the millennia, which is the best antidote to depression, cynicism, and malice, a practice that is transformative, that will connect you to all living things, and will offer you a freer heart and boundless joy? You would be begging me to teach you this practice. And what if I told you this practice was tithing? That's right, the practice of giving a percentage of your material goods back to the religious community. What would you say then? The world gives us the message that we must look out for our own interests, that life is a race won by the most competitive. The world has a limited resources and finite amount of wealth, goods, and love that each of us on our own as we try to grab, and each of us is on our own as we try to grab what we can. And in a world such as this, tithing is a subversive act. I have tithed for nearly 10 years, and it gives me profound spiritual freedom and grace. Tithing tells me that the income I earn, large or small, does not define who I am. Tithing teaches me over and over about my dependence upon others and theirs upon me. Ultimately, it teaches me to place my trust in something other than money, to understand that my security does not lie in material things. Rather, my security lies in community. The offering is an ancient religious rite performed in nearly every human society, whether it was the finest lamb, sheaves of wheat, or wine. People brought to the common altar a portion of their harvest to sustain the wider community. Even the poorest carried something to the table, participating in this reminder of human interdependence. Our modern version of offering is manifested each Sunday morning when we pass the baskets around to support the church's mission. Find it in your pockets and hearts to donate all your money, and maybe God won't forget you. Each of us receives from that shared wealth, and our wider community is also strengthened. Our offerings are less tangible now, dollars and checks instead of grains and livestock, but it is our work of our hands nonetheless. It is our work and it is our hard work made into currency, and those hours of work that we have power, the power to provide and to grow and to shape our world, to build things that will outlast generations. And now I have a confession to make. I'm jealous of the religious right. I'm jealous of their strength. I'm jealous of their organizing power. I'm jealous of their ability to affect elections from school boards to presidential campaigns. Anyone else jealous? And you know, frankly, I'm jealous of their clarity of purpose. That clarity makes it possible for them to commit themselves wholeheartedly to the pursuit of their values in the world. They have a vision of our nation's future, and they give willingly, joyfully, gratefully of their time, energy, and money to the fulfillment of that vision. What motivates these religious people to give so deeply? They believe that their values are in danger in these times. They believe that their families are threatened, their worldview is under attack, their God is defiled. And so, perceiving themselves under attack, they work diligently against that threat. They protect and educate their children. They build institutions to preserve and spread their values. They fund candidates, and they build camps and churches and youth centers and colleges. I'm jealous. Where do these mostly working class people find the resources for such a unified effort? Oh, my dear friends, they tithe. They give 10% of their income to their local churches, and then they give on top of that to affiliated organizations. They believe that God calls them to do so, and that giving in this way offers God glory. The thing is, our God, the force of love in the universe, the unnameable yet ever-present divine spirit of life, the God of trees and rivers and bears, the God of the poor and the dispossessed, the God of refugees and hungry children, the God of Thoreau and Emerson, Channing and Parker, Francis David, and all of the nameless martyrs of our faith, our God deserves glory too. Our children need protection. Our values are under attack, and we must work diligently to defend them against threat. Some people may say that the purpose of church is to improve ourselves, to teach us spiritual practices, but not to be involved in social matters. I would offer a challenge to those people, for religion upholds a unique role in society. Communities of faith perform a singular function. They have what sociologists call an alternative imagination, an ability to posit a future different from and better than the present one we know today. Our religion describes a future in which every child is fed and warm and sleeps in a dry bed, in which all people are free from want and oppression and despair. And our faith calls us to work for that future. The church, at its best, is the conscience of the people. As Oscar Romero, the martyred Archbishop of El Salvador, once said, the church has no intention of being the people's opium. The church wants to rouse men and women to the true meaning of being people. As Mike Doral puts it, church asks us whether we live our lives any differently than our unchurched neighbors and friends. We come together on Sunday mornings not just to heal our own souls, but also to offer healing outwards to the world. Here we learn what it means to be people, working together for the common good. Now, lest you think churches lack any real power, let me share with you a simple fact. There was not one successful social movement in the United States that did not use religious people as its organizing base. Every successful religious movement involved churches and synagogues. Think of the role that churches in the civil rights movement or in the sanctuary movement of the 1980s. There have been other movements too: temperance, women's suffrage, abolition. There are examples from other countries as well. Remember the involvement of the church in El Salvador, Nicaragua, and elsewhere, where priests, nuns, and lay people risked everything in the struggle against a military dictatorship. Or the simple Hungarian minister, Laszlo Totes, who refused to keep silent, igniting the Romanian Revolution against dictator Ceausescu. In the Philippines, against Marcos. The Solidarity movement in Poland, John Paul II was an outspoken supporter of that movement. Think also of the times when churches have been silent in the face of evil. Most noteworthy were the churches in Germany during the Third Reich, who, through a combination of fear, complicity, and their own anti-Semitism, did not speak out against the Nazi atrocities. The religious right understands the power to be harnessed in congregations. They are brilliant in their organizing methods. They ask their people to live their faith with conviction. Think now, where is the voice of our faith needed to counter injustice and prejudice? What does our Unitarian Universalist faith ask us to do and be in these times? How will we respond? The great Unitarian theologian and ethicist, James Luther Adams, said often that in order for goodness to triumph, it must be institutionalized. If we are to make changes in the world, to create a just society, we must organize ourselves. We must lend our voices to the cause of mercy and peace. We must use all our resources, our energy, our time, our money to create that society. So often we decry the power of the religious right, and we wish for our own message of love and freedom, that our own message could be heard. And yet we have only begun to lift our voices into the world. Our times demand us a new fidelity to our faith, and that fidelity requires us to live in new ways. It asks us to be bold, to be strong, to grow in generosity. We who statistically have so much more than the rest of the world, we are called to serve the good by living generously. You have a mission. You are hoping to shine the light of our liberal faith here in this community. We need your voice here. There are so many who could find a home with you. And so, as you consider your pledge to this congregation, let me ask you a question. What is the Spirit asking you to give of your resources to the ministry of love and justice? What percentage of your resources does love ask you to share? Let me ask you another question. What gift can you give that will be meaningful to you, that will give you strength and the clarity in the months ahead? What gift would be exciting and nourishing to your own spirit? This is how we should give. The old proverb about the Lord loving a cheerful giver is often misunderstood. It doesn't mean that we should give an amount that is easy for us. It doesn't mean that we should grin and bear it. It means that we should give a gift that gladdens our heart and gives us joy. It means that when we give generously with authenticity and integrity, the divine moves in us. The divine moves in us. The question is whether we want to live our lives fearfully, trapped in the consumer mindset of our era, or do we want to live lives that are full and free, that give us a sense of purpose and wonder? My friends, I believe it is our best hope and a sign from the land of enough that you here and our friends in this congregation all over this nation are engaged in these questions. This work of generosity outlasts the yearly fund drive and calls to us into a deeper communion with each other and with the world. It calls us to be larger, stronger, and braver than we ever imagined we could be. Do not fear, though, for we are called together. We have one another. These are the ancient tasks of religious people: to trust the wonder of the universe, to use our lives to serve the good, and to be a blessed comfort to one another on the journey. May it be so, my friends. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Alec. And that was a very powerful service by Land of Enough by Reverend Cecilia Kingman. And now we'll have our closing hymn, which is For All That Is Our Life. Those in the sanctuary, again, sit back, close your eyes, and listen quietly.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is our gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is our gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. And thank you, Alec, for sharing your valuable time in reading today's sermon for us. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you again. And thank you all for joining us here today. And now we invite you into the parish hall for fellowship on our first Sunday luncheon. Donations are welcome, and all proceeds will go to the church. And now here's the information for our contact information. Thank you, everyone.